tertutup, kau cari celah sendiri. Saat suara mengecil, kau bikin lebih nyaring. Tangan yang sempat lelah, tetap genggam mimpi. Langit
Commentary, it never changes, it never rains. Kika Giles here, Elliot York next to me. Everything from this morning now has been completely thrown out the window. This is basically an FP1 session, but with the added importance of it actually being practiced. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, mate. Yes, thankfully the weather has pretty much cleared. You can still see some damp patches around the circuit, which is understandable. It did take quite a while to dry. At the end of Moto2, we saw some slick tyres slotted in, and then pretty much for the entire MotoGP session, it was dry, and thankfully the sun is shining. The temperature has risen to 25 degrees, so plenty warm enough out there for the track to continue, hopefully keep on drying. And yes, this morning pretty much wiped away from the history books in terms of what matters this weekend, and especially going into this afternoon. Dry conditions, slick tyre running. No Moto3 rider has been out on Pirelli slick tyres so far this weekend, so very excited for this one, as always on a Friday. Gets us warmed up in FP1, get the juices flowing, and then we really get the session and the weekend underway in this afternoon's practice session. Plenty of fans already in the circuit. The paddock is very busy, as it always is on these European rounds. Jerez, Mugello, Barcelona, Le Mans, always busy paddocks. And yeah, everyone excited to see how this Friday afternoon unfolds. And this rider was the fastest of the lot this morning.
He was just under a quarter of a second ahead of Joel Esteban. Adrian Fernandez, second in the championship. 76 points is his tally. He is quite a long way back, it's got to be said, of Max Quiles. Max Quiles sitting at the top there on 140, so by my quick mental math, that's a 64-point difference. Adrian Fernandez has got a lot of work to do, but he got on with it. This morning, and he was P1 ahead of Joel Esteban. Who is looking this weekend to try and make up for no points scored in his home GP last time out in Barcelona, and it was your championship leader Max Quiles who was in third place this morning, just about 3.5 tenths off. We just saw down there as well Ethan Guevara just having some final chats with Joel Esteban, who is going to be ready to be getting out very, very soon indeed. This is David Munoz, Team Dave, and a Liquid Merley Dynamo Intact GP team, 10th in the championship, as you can see on the screen. Munoz was 14th this morning. Wasn't a brilliant session, I don't think, across the board for either Munoz or teammate David Almanza. Almanza down in P22, so the number 22 in the position of his number, but tricky conditions out. We're going to see him go out in some anger in this Moto3 practice. Now it's dry.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't actually really remember seeing the 64 on our screens at all, and on the other side of the box as well, David Almanza on the number 22. Both normally fast starters during a weekend, and I think we're going to see plenty more of them in this session as well. Brian Uriarte, we're seeing the number 51. He was 4th place this morning, continuing his really strong performance over at the Catalan Grand Prix. Has brought that over so far this weekend in tricky conditions. This morning anyway, and Uriarte gained a lot of confidence from being in that victory fight throughout the weekend over in Barcelona, and looks yeah, like not a new rider per se, because he's always been very strong, but that weekend over in Barcelona was, I think, a little bit of a turning point in this season, and Uriarte just taking a little bit of time to get into that victory fight, but he was absolutely in it over in Barcelona, was the reigning Rookies Cup and Moto Junior champion.
Yeah, gaining confidence all the time. That's going to happen with each round and each lap that these guys get under their belts. Fellow rookie Vico Salmela there in the box, the Finnish rider. He was in 13th place this morning in the wet conditions. Here was one of our crashers from this morning, Hakim Danish. Good to see that they fixed the number 13 Aeon Credit MSI MT helmets machine. As the riders now head out, a little bit of a lull in proceedings right at the start, but the clock is ticking down for 35 minutes. We've already had nearly a whole minute here, and now the riders will hit the track. And well, I believe we're going to see some quick lap time pretty much straight away here because of set thunderstorms that are in the area. Moto2 and MotoGP coming up a little bit later on. It might be worth, if you're wandering around in the paddock or out there in the hills of Tuscany, to have an umbrella and a raincoat with you, because it seems like we are destined to have a pretty mighty downpour. We'll have to wait and see, of course. We said all of this a couple of weeks ago, or 3 weeks ago in Le Mans, but I think here in this microclimate that we do have, you can see it's a little bit dark just in the hills towards the back. So all of these guys are going to get out here and try and get a lap time set and a good benchmark. Mega important thing here, Al, is that actually lots of variables. You want to get a lap time to avoid the rain. You want to get a lap time in to avoid yellow flags and lap cancellation later on in the session. You absolutely don't want to be exceeding track limits. Neither do you want to cop an early penalty on a Friday for dawdling on the racing line. So it's a mix of, with that massive long front straight, you need a bit of slipstream, you need track position, but also you need a clean lap time, and that can also come doing what Max Keeler so often does on a Friday afternoon, and that's lap alone.
Yeah, and what you also don't want to do is throw it down the road early doors and lose a lot of time in this session. Of course, the wet weather this morning meant we've had no dry running in Moto3 so far this weekend, so this session is crucial to get that one lap down. Of course, you want to be inside that top 14 ahead of tomorrow to take a little bit of stress off and maybe sleep a little bit better on Friday nights. But also, you want to get a bit of race rhythm dialed in as well, which we've seen this rider Keeler do so often on a Friday. He's not been bothered about topping Fridays or finishing inside that top 3, seeing his name at the top of the leaderboard. All he wants to do is, of course, get inside that top 14. If he finishes P14 on a Friday, Keeler's job done, and that's job done for all the riders. We've seen Alvaro Carpe, the number 83, the last couple of weekends over in Le Mans and in Barcelona, crashed on a Friday. It cost him time, cost him a bit of race rhythm. Of course, he finished, didn't finish the race over in Le Mans, but he did come across the line to finish second at his home Grand Prix over in Barcelona. But tricky Fridays have been the name of the game so far for Carpe in the last couple of Grand Prix. Just need to sort that out today and this weekend.
Carpe has been in Q1 3 times this year. Goiânia, Jerez, Le Mans and Barcelona. Excuse me now, reading from the bottom column. It's Goiânia, Le Mans and Barcelona last time out. 2 of those occasions he did come through into Q2, so good job all down there in the end, but you don't want to be putting yourself down, particularly somewhere like here, Al, where you've got the likes of, let's be fair, Nicola Carraro, who are here on your screen right now, yet to come through and really show us what he's capable of here in 2026, but it's his home GP. He's normally down there in the Q1 sessions. He'll be looking to find something, and then how often do we see riders who just end up down in Q1 that really shouldn't be there at all? So you really don't want to be putting yourself at the mercy of perhaps other riders who you normally want to be battling with, as Carraro trying to come under one of the Code Motorsport machines that looked like, to me, Cormac Buchanan, who was up in 5th place this morning. Arabiata 1. Oh, that is a bit too early doors, and I tell you what, Cormac Buchanan's already having a look back at the Italian there. That's down into Scarpa-Rio. That was very tight for the opening 5 minutes of this session.
Yeah, all battling for track position, of course, trying to chase Alvaro Carpe. They know that Carpe has consistently been at the top of the leaderboard throughout this session. Valentin Peroni just indicating there may be a bit of an issue in the Tech 3 box, was indicating there. It looked like he was sort of reenacting a pit lane limiter, but has Peroni been out in this session? Can't quite see. No, he's not. So maybe an issue there, or maybe just being patient, Peroni, inside that box. Of course, the pole sitter from last time out, but couldn't hook it up in the race. Chose the wrong tyre option, did Valentin Peroni, and the team, unfortunately, in Barcelona's Sunday Grand Prix, and that led to him finishing outside the top 10 on the second consecutive occasion. Hasn't finished outside the top 10 on 3 consecutive occasions since he suffered 3 DNFs at the start of his Moto3 career, so he won't want to be finishing outside the top 10. Of course, that goes without saying, but Peroni not done that for a long time in Moto3, and I don't expect him to do it again this time around.
658 Squadron Corsa formation flying, and it's Casey Gorman and Leo Ramersdorff. Leo Ramersdorff this morning with his best second of the year, 7th place in FP1, so very strong start. We know it was that But Leo Ramersdorfer, maybe that session's giving him a little bit of relief, and there's no reason why he won't be able to come through if he's in Q1 tomorrow, or even go through directly today if he gets a lap time in. We see here the slipstream plays such a part, such a role in qualifying and in practice when push comes to shove. So just keep an eye on the riders that perhaps you don't always expect to be in those top 14 highlighted positions in that timing tower. But just having a look at Jesus Rios, I was a bit of a fan of what he was able to do over in Barcelona up until the last 3 or 4 laps when he just started getting shuffled back, and then obviously he crashed out at turn 10, a pretty big crash as well. Jesus Rios struggled this morning with plumb last, 26 out, 26 riders, but expect Rios to come good. I think he's a little bit of a weapon out there on board that vehicle called Sniper's Team Machine, and he's definitely showing what that team can do when someone is quick enough to fight at the front is on board that machine.
Yeah, 100% agreed. Rios unfortunately did crash in the latter stages, but was well in that podium fight and was looking very aggressive and strong as well. Was 10th on Friday, qualified on the top 2 rows, of course, over in Barcelona as well, and as mentioned, was in that podium fight as well, and scored points over in the US, and of course got a top 10 in Jerez as well. So Rios has been on a decent run of form around the circuits we've been to in Moto3, and around the circuit we go on board with this morning's pace setter, and so far this afternoon's pace setter, Adrian Fernandez into San Donato.
Yeah, tell you what, they come up over that hump down that front straight, and what a vista they are greeted with. The hills of Tuscany just awaiting. This is coming through turns 2 and 3, and this is down towards turns 4 and 5, and Borgo San Lorenzo I think is coming up through here. So I've got to say, this is fast. Then it's opening on the power, up through the gearbox, ride it right out to the edge of the curve, down the hill, and then just let the bike do all the talking. Casanova, Cervelli, and then it's all the way on this long left-hander, then it's Arrabbiata 1, and it's just direction change after direction change. We were chatting to a few of the MotoGP riders here for a video coming up that you'll be able to enjoy on MotoGP.com about the benefits and disadvantages of being a tall rider or a small rider. And all the tall riders were saying that Mugello is a track they love because it's a lot less force on the bike, it's a lot more natural, they can leave the bike to its own devices, they don't have to hustle to get that direction change over twice as much as perhaps somewhere like Balaton where we're going next week. This is down into Common this is turn 12, the long lap penalty loop. It's just off to the left, and then it is asking for the power. Biondetti 1 coming up here. Remember, some 16 years ago, Valentino Rossi, big high side there in practice, missed the first ever Grand Prix of his career, and then down towards turn 15, this is Puccini. This is where it is really fast on entry. Run it out in the middle of the corner, and then 1.1 kilometres of front straight, and the mountains away as they come up over the top of the hill, and now blast into the line. You can be sure that slipstreams are going to be vital here in Grand Prix Sunday. Thank you very much, Adrian Fernandez, for being our chauffeur that time around, but we do have yellow flags, and we pass through those yellow flag zones just in time. Turns 12, that's Correntine and Biondetti 1 and 2. Oh dear me, Hakim Denise with a second fall of the day, and again the front of that bike seems to have taken a beating. So yellow flags out on the crossover between sectors 3 and 4.
Yeah, as you mentioned, Denise crashed this morning. It was in the opening sector. Denise crashed, I think it was at turn 3. Here we're going to get a replay on the exit. Oh, dearie me.
Out the front door, and look how far he slid. Oh dear me, at least he's facing the right way up the track, and he is able to get out of the way there.
God.
Hakim Denise, and to see him up on his feet after that, he just ran it out so wide up over the curbs, and it just lost adhesion and fired him out of the top there. Very lucky that...
See, no, he's not. So maybe an issue there, or maybe just being patient for only inside that box. Of course, the pole sitter from last time out, but couldn't hook it up in the...
On this long left-hander, then it's Arrabbiata 1, and it's just direction change after direction change. We were way up the track, and he is able to get out of the way there. Hakim Denise, and to see him up on his feet after that, he just ran it out so wide up over the curbs, and it just lost adhesion and fired him out of the top there. Very lucky that Hakim Denise, at least he got less force on the bike. It's a lot more natural. They can leave the bike to its own devices. They don't have to hustle to get that direction change over twice as much as perhaps somewhere like Balaton, where we're going next week. This is down into Corinthia. This is turn 12, the long lap penalty loop. It's just off to the left, and then it is asking for the power. Biondetti one coming up here. Remember, some 16 years ago, Valentino Rossi, big high side there in practice, missed the first ever Grand Prix of his career, and then down towards turn 15. This is Fucini. This is where it is really, really fast on entry. Run it out in the middle of the corner, and then 1.1 kilometres of front straight, and the mountains away as they come up over the top of the hill, and now blast into the line. You can be sure that slipstreams are going to be vital here in Grand Prix Sunday. Thank you very much, Adrian Fernandez, for being our chauffeur that time around, but we do have yellow flags, and we pass through those yellow flag zones just in time. Turns 12, that's Corinthia and Biondetti 1 and 2. Oh dear me, Hakim Denish with a second fall of the day, and again the front of that bike seems to have taken a beating, so yellow flags out on the crossover between sectors 3 and 4.
Yeah, as you mentioned, Denise crashed this morning. It was in the opening sector. Denise crashed, I think it was at turn 3. Here we're going to get a replay on the exit. Oh, dearie me.
Out the front door, and I felt how far he slid. Oh dear me, at least he's facing the right way up the track, and he is able to get out of the way there. Hakim Denish, and to see him up on his feet after that, he just ran it out so wide up over the curb, and it just lost. He's uninjured. We'll have to wait for confirmation on that, but well, Hakim Denish has had a very eventful Friday, hasn't he?
Yeah, a lot can change in a couple of weeks in motorcycle racing, coming off what I would say, and I'm sure Hakim would probably agree, was his best weekend so far in Moto3. Topped Friday, qualified 10th. Okay, that's not where he wants to be qualifying, but not a bad qualifying, and then was in that podium and victory fight throughout the race, and eventually crossed the line in 7th place, only 6 tenths away from the victory. Another rider who was in that victory fight was Brian Ariarte, as mentioned. Where's this going to take him? No, he loses time. Of course, without the slipstream, always vital in Moto3, but especially here at Mugello, the number 51 just prefers to ride alone so far, and that's the same can be said for Max Quiles. But when push comes to shove, I think even the likes of Quiles will be wanting to have a dose of slipstream down the front straight if needed. Of course, it can gain you up towards half second and maybe even a little bit more. Kelso chasing Quiles now. He's ahead of Matteo Bertelli on circuit, and returning the favour potentially is Bertelli when he gets a face full of Quiles' slipstream. We'll get Quiles over the line, improves his time. Quiles does not, Bertelli does. Marco Morelli also on a decent lap time here as well. So the riders, understandably so, as we was expecting as well, pushing on early doors here in this session.
Quiles, of course, loves Mugello. He took his first victory here last year. Some chap called Mark Marquez who took the first of his 99 GP victories here as well back in 2010, as going across the grass and the gravel. Adrian Fernandez, he has been pushing on, I've got to say, all day today. In the wet, he was really, really quick. Had a couple of moments actually there, wasn't it, over in Pelagio, that turn 11. So, got to say, Adrian Fernandez looks comfortable. It's good to see him pushing, because 9th place in Barcelona is not where he wants to be, but this time he just runs it right out wide. The curb's unsettling, and he goes through the sandpit.
Yeah, picked it up just in time, did Adrian Fernandez. Not too much to worry about, but a little bit of a warning, and finding the limits over on the exit of Pelagio of turn 11. This is Marco Morelli. Mentioned he was on a good lap time, lost a little bit of time in that third split, did Morelli. Not having slipstream as well is the 97, and loses 3 tenths down that front straight. But up inside that top 10 so far, good stuff from Morelli, who is a little bit disappointed with his opening half-race stint over in Barcelona. Couldn't get into his rhythm and struggled a little bit to go with the pace of the front guys, but did then rediscover his mojo and get back into the podium fight. But by then it was a little bit too late, and yeah, was happy to bridge the gap over in Barcelona, but when trying to make a couple of overtakes, he was find it a little bit tricky. He said he knows he's got the pace, Marco Morelli, and we've seen that a couple of times this season. Brazil springs to mind, Jerez springs to mind as well. Just needs to iron out a few details, Marco Morelli's words, and then I think we'll be seeing him, well, we're already seeing him at the front, aren't we, in Moto3, but really pushing for victories on a regular basis. Marco
Morelli's got so much pace in the second half of GPs out. I remember chatting to him about this over in Guyana and likewise in Jerez. He just, I don't know if it's he struggles to get into his rhythm or like the more experience he's getting in Moto3, the quicker he's getting, but unfortunately he's just not getting it done early doors. And even with that middle of the second row he qualified in last time out, 5th place, he still went backwards and was outside the points at one point. So very, very commendable ride back through the field up into 6th. We've got yellow flags up at turn 4. So that's quite a fast entry in there. Cruises has gone down. So turn 4, that is at Moto3 corner there. So not ideal for Adrian Cruises, and again that's a really awkward place to kind of get back from in the paddock. You're very high up, but you're going to have to go down the hill. I'll tell you what, it's a quick entry into there, so we'll have to wait and see what happened there. Adrian Cruises up on his feet, but again, far from ideal to be thrown out of the fence as we approach the halfway mark in this session.
Yeah, hopefully Cruces is okay. Turn 4, not the fastest place, of course, on this track to crash, but still plenty of speeds when you're chucking it on the left-hand side into turn 4. But yeah, fingers crossed the bike and Cruces is all okay to head out for a bit of the session later on, because he's not inside that top 14, so needs a lap. Casey O'Gorman jumps inside that top 14. It was a really strong Sunday for O'Gorman, wasn't it, Kiko, over in Barcelona. Had a tricky time of things on Friday and Saturday, did the Irishman. Well, qualified in 12th, not bad, but then got that 12-place grid penalty, so he started from P24, and when you're starting from P24, more often than not, you're not going to really challenge for a big haul of points, but that's exactly what Casey O'Gorman did. Is this the Cruces crash? Just watching the background, yes it is. Front end folded there on the number 11 machine, slides to the gravel. Hopefully Cruces is all okay. But yeah, O'Gorman just ahead of Cruces on track, because there as well as a second crash in the gravel for Cruces. But yeah, really impressed with O'Gorman on Sunday. A great fight back and was inside that top 10 as well. So top job from the Irishman, who qualified well, but then got that penalty, but then got his head down in the races and was in that podium fight come the end of it as well. So yeah, a strong Sunday for O'Gorman.
O'Gorman has been impressive, I've got to say, on Sunday so far this year. 11th in Burram, 9th and a top 10 performance, his best result of the season. That was over in Guyana. He was in the top 10 again in Kota, but then fell off late on. I think it was a penultimate lap. And then 12th time out in Jerez. Then at Le Mans it was a DNF, 10th last time out and back in that top 10. Oh, dearie me. Guido Pini, well, he's just absolutely run out the inside of Rico Salmela. That's not going to be getting the KTM Tech 3 mechanics are very excited, that is for sure. Guido Pini absolutely ran it through then at Colantire. You can guarantee that Rico Salmela's already thinking about San Donato in 1.1 kilometres time. I was just about to mention to you, Al, but where Guido Pini is. Down in 18th place yet again. Guido Pini on a Friday, really trying to get something flat there. He got a bit KTM probably on his right hand side, although it was the left side. It's his glove. It's his glove. It's a bit loose, the strap there. Have a look at this. Pini's turning it tight. Oh, I tell you what, the race direction. FIA Moto issues. We'll be looking at that. I think if it was on a Sunday, you could say all is fair rubbing his racing, but unfortunately, it's a bit much on for Moto3 practice. Guido Pini was trying to show exactly where he lives to Rico Salmela now.
Yeah, maybe a tad aggressive, and Salmela wouldn't have seen Pini, of course, no. So Salmela was just taking his racing line, maybe a tad wide, but Salmela certainly didn't lose too much time, but the door was open for Pini to try and come through, and then the two paths merged, didn't they, unfortunately for the two, turn 12, Colantire. But yeah, Pini has a little bit of work to do. He moved up to P15 with that lap, but of course that's not good enough for the top 14, and he was outside of the top 14 in Catalonia, outside of the top 14 in France, outside of the top 14 in Jerez as well. So since his win, hasn't seen a top 14 on a Friday as the number 94. So just needs to get that rhythm back on a Friday. He said he has struggled to get into weekends and find that feeling he needs on that Honda to start the weekend. He was mentioning ahead of his home country it was really important for them to try and figure out to get up to speed quicker on a Friday.
At least he did go through Q1 and into Q2 in Le Mans and Catalonia. It was more the disaster of Jerez, where a lot of big things were expected from the 94, fresh from his win in America, but unfortunately it just didn't happen for Guido Pini, who is quite literally racing at home. We touched on it quite a lot this morning, and yeah, he is from Scarperia. That's the exact location within the Borgo San Lorenzo commune, let's say. So Guido Pini is as close to home as is basically possible here racing a Mugello. Crossline moves into the top 14 now. So provisionally he's in. Let's just give you a rundown then. Less than 15 minutes of this session left to go here in Moto3 Practice. Your top 14 names are the ones that are going to move through provisionally, but of course that can all change with just less than 14 minutes on the clock as we have a look at Guido Pini's glove strap flapping in the breeze. But it's Joel Kelso, Alvaro Carpe, David Almanza, Adrian Fernandez and Max Kielers who are your top 5. Joel Kelso, brilliant lap for the Grid M Lab Racing Honda team. Puts himself up there in P1 thus far. Outside the top 5, Brian Uriarte, Ruse Yamanaka has woken up. Great to see the number 6 up there in P7. 8th for Matteo Bertelli, who was top Italian this morning, and very, very enthused about that fact when I spoke to him very briefly in the pause between the sessions. 9th for David Munoz, and completing your top 10 at the moment is Marco Morelli. Then it's Joel Esteban, who was second this morning. Case O'Gorman is 12th, ahead of Eddie O'Shea and Guido Pini, this rider's teammate. So at the moment, both Leopard Hondas are in, both of the Grid M Lab Hondas are in, and that is a sign that Michael Laverty's squad have really, really upped their game, up their performance, and are really starting to make waves in Moto3.
Yeah, good to see that for sure. Adrian Fernandez, we're watching, one of only, well, I think the only rider out on track, along with Guido Pini's teammate, of course. Adrian Cruz has still not made it back to the pits according to our timing screens. Jesus Rios just re-emerging onto the circuit as well for the final 12.5 minutes as expected. Adrian Fernandez pits for some fresh Pirelli rubber, and in a couple of minutes time I think we shall be seeing the field head out for the time attack, the final 10 minutes of basically, as you guys will know, is a mini qualifying session, or Friday's qualifying session to get into that top 14.
2-0 really, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's what it is. Just outside that top 14 at the moment. Alex is third, bringing some attention to Scott Ogden, 16th. He'll be looking better than that. In fact, both the CIP repowered machines after what was quite a difficult weekend over in Barcelona. Alan Brodek's team are not going to be very happy if they're both in Q1 again. Ogden 16th at the moment, Cruz says 18th, they're split by Salmello, who's in 17th. Denise is going to need a lap if he can. Oh dear me, what has happened to it? Guido Pini, has he stalled it somewhere in pit lane? He was out on track. He was one of only 2 riders who were out on track, so whether it's run out of fuel or whatever, but it's getting back into the box now. And they're having a look down at the bottom of the bike as he's
the gear lever.
Gear lever, maybe, yeah. So I'll tell you what, that's far from ideal for Guido Pini with 11.5 minutes on the clock. Also outside, Denise, as I said, will need a lap time. Very Vitalik, very, very quiet Friday for the Indonesian down there in 21st. Manos and Peroni, 22nd, pole sitting last time out. Moodley, Rios, Ramersdorf and Matani. There's no big surprises there. Perhaps Jesus Rios, but I think he was so strong anyway in Barcelona that perhaps he's just getting acquainted to Mugello. Worth noting that for Adrian Cruz, I believe, judging from my research, this is his first time here. He's never seen Mugello, so you can almost forgive him for tucking the front on his first day of action.
Yeah, Cruz wasn't in the Red Bull Rookies Cup, and I've got it noted down as never raced here as well for Cruz, but he's a quick learner, is Cruz, and yeah, he's back in the box, or just outside the KTM box as it is. All the Moto3 teams who haven't got a pit box on the pit lane, there's a lot of garages outside the back of the paddock as well. It's very difficult to find a circuit that can fit every single Moto3, Moto2 and MotoGP team in the pit lane, so not unfamiliar to see that as David Almanza sits patiently in the box. We didn't see much of him and his teammate David Munoz, not seen much of Munoz in this session either, but Almanza is inside that top 5. Where is David Munoz? Ninth. So yeah, a bit of a better session so far for the Liquid Money Dynabot Intact GP team.
We get a load of replays, and that is the kind of postcard setting that we are racing in this weekend. Perfectly illustrated by Max Keeler. Love the curves around here as well. The flag, of course, the Italian flag as Matteo Bertelli, one of the home heroes, is going to be going for broke on Sunday. Missed this GP this time last year, but his first Moto3 top 10 did come here. That was back in 2022. 9th place, best finish so far at Mugello. Best grid position, 4th. That came a year later, but he did miss Mugello here last year. Of course, he was at that quite frightening set of injuries from a training accident, but he's definitely back to his best, Matteo Bertelli. I've got to say, as we see the world's biggest number 94, no, it's not a massive Jonas Folger fan club. It is Guido Pini's fan club, the iDrive Pines fan club. He is the most popular person in this paddock this weekend, and I tell you what, I think that flag was flapping in the breeze just as much as his glove was as he was coming down the front straight with Rigo Salmella in behind. 13 there, Hakim Danish is now back in the pit lane, so let's see what they can do there with the ayoo on credit MT helmets. MSI score looks like it's ready to rock and roll, so good stuff then for Jordi Kittel's team down there, and let's see if Hakim Danish can indeed get himself up into, dear me, into Q2. He's got himself some airtime, that's for sure, in more ways than one. Oh dear me, at least he slides off the track towards the right hand side and out of harm's way, but wow, that was a massive crash. Just on back to Matteo Bertelli, if I can just close off that subject, of course. Not only has he been fast really since we came back to Europe, but he's, I think we can say, now walking absolutely normally. He's not got a limp on him anymore, at least it's not a proper limp. He's looking very, very normal. Finally, I think, fully recovered and back to full fitness.
Yeah, it was this time last year in Mugello where we first saw him back in the paddock after those numerous injuries, and yeah, it's safe to say that Bertelli was not in fine shape, as good a shape as he could have been after the training crashes that he had, of course. So great to see Bertelli around about a year later has been back on the Moto3 podium and looking somewhat back to his best. So yeah, good stuff for Matteo Bertelli, and of course the Level Up MTA team as well, who stuck by Bertelli through thick and thin. And yeah, it's good to see that the Italian is getting back to full fitness and of course riding like we know he can be. Now then, who is everyone waiting for, I wonder? Who is going to be the guinea pig? There's been a few guinea pigs head out there already. Adrian Fernandez, Yamanaka, Morelli and Hakim Danish. Maybe they're all waiting for the number 64. Who knows? But yes, everyone's going to be wanting a bit of slipstream down that start-finish strike.
I have a horrible feeling we're going to see a load of dawdling incoming as well in a moment. So less than 7 minutes left on the clock. The Red Bull KTM ayoo guys are getting ready with Carpe. This is the CIB Green Power setup. Cruces on the left. Good to see that Cruces is now going to be back out on track after his accident. Scott Ogden is in the pink helmet as well there on the green machine. Ryan Ariarte, Ruche Mooding, Guido Pini all head out. So whatever the problem was with Guido Pini, whether it was the gear lever or something else, Pini is back out there now, out on track. Keeles is still in the box. They don't seem too urgent to get him out. It's like getting ready for a 100-metre sprint down there in pit lane with some of the mechanic.
Yeah, this is Cormac Buchanan, who's just lingering outside the top 14 as things stand. There's obviously a few riders you can see there. Jen Cruces less than a second away from the top spot, Joel Kelso, and just over a tenth and a half away from the top 14. Expect that to change a lot, as we can see. Keeles, as you rightly mentioned as well, he'll look at the times and see that he's well over 6/10 clear of the top 14, the cut line, over half a second clear at least, and yeah, he's just going to be sitting patiently, let everyone else do the donkey work, let everyone else play some games, and he'll head out when he needs to head out. Of course, he'll try and set up lap times, but he's under no pressure to get inside that top 14. As things stand, it could change a lot.
I must admit, I'm very surprised that they didn't all try and get down pit lane and join on to this sort of train at the front here. So, well, Adrian Fernandez, for now at least, has a clear bit of track. Max Keeles is heading out. Let's see if anyone else is going to follow him. I wonder. I wonder if he's going to throw him a dummy. No, indeed he's not. John Kelso straight out there. Cormac Buchanan likewise. As we were saying. Brilliant. Max Keeles punching the biggest hole in the air metaphorically, and is now the biggest moving target metaphorically. Out there for everyone else. Less than 5 minutes ago. The championship leader has a decent train behind him.
I might have broken them.
They're a bit slack, aren't they? They didn't get on that very well at all. So Keeles is already blasting up towards turn 2. Joel Kelso and Eddie O'Shea kind of caught with the trousers around their ankles a bit there.
Kelso, though, is under no real pressure, really. He's top of the time sheet, so doesn't need to try and follow anyone. However, times are about to tumble here. This is Morelli chasing Alvaro Carpi on track, the 97. It's just going to take him to P1. Surely it does. Not got a whole heap of slipstream, but surely that's good enough to take him P1, and it is. But now we need to clap our eyes on Adrian Fernandez, P1 pace setter. He's going great guns, and the third split this morning was where he was particularly strong. Is he going to gain time in that split? No, he loses it a bit to Morelli.
Yeah, a little bit, but he's still up as he comes into Buccini. So let's see what Adrian Fernandez can do. 4 minutes, as I said, on the clock now, so there's not going to be a great deal of luck. I think Fernandez can get this one and then potentially only one more. We'll have to wait and see. But Adrian Fernandez at the moment is safe in fifth, and he's now looking to try and move up into P1, and he does so indeed, and goes down into the 55. So 55.963 for number 31, Adrian Fernandez. Great job behind him though. Hakim Danish, who has had the biggest crash we've seen all day here in practice for Moto3 on the exit Fiondetti 2, moved himself up into the top 10, and that means he moved himself provisionally up into Q2 directly out of practice. So great job from Hakim Danish.
Yeah, absolutely, and it pushes Guido Pini out of the top 14 as well. And here is the freight train that a lot of riders are in. Scott Ogden in the background there, Eddie O'Shea's in the mix as well. He is P14 and on the cut line now as we focus in on Leo Ramersdorfer. Where is Ramersdorfer? Down in P25 after finishing inside that top 10 this morning. So a bit of jostling for position, get that slipstream and then try and get a clean lap in, which is going to be difficult in the group. Here is Guido Pini, the home hero, picking him up. He's on a decent lap time, half a second away from his teammate though, but if he holds that to the line, he's going to go inside that top 5.
What he absolutely can't do is crash. So Guido Pini, at least he's going to get this one over the line, but he absolutely cannot crash, really, because it's risked so much by not being able to get out there and get a lap in. Pini comes across the line. This will put him top 14 for sure. Oh, does it? Puts him 7. It put him 6. But he towed Rouchet Moodley the South African round as well. So Rouchet Moodley is on course at the minute to move directly into Q2. That would be some job by the Code Motorsports team down there, and some brilliant job by Rouchet Moodley. Moodley has been a little bit underwhelming at times in 2026, but it would be his first direct move into Q2, I make it this year.
They've got some demons to banish for Mugello as well. Picked up multiple fractures in his right arm at Mugello last year when Moodley was in a bit of a rich vein of form. So great to see the South African jump inside that top 10. Adrian Fernandez is not going to improve on this lap time around, but he won't care. He is P1. Ryusuke Yamanaka. Good to see the Japanese rider, as he did over in Barcelona on Friday, get inside that top 14. That's more like it from Ryusuke.
Yeah, Massimo Virgini looking on down there from the Leopard camp. His riders are first and 8th at the moment, so both Leopard Hondas at the moment moving through. Keeles is down in 9th place at the moment and not on a lap this time round. He's only going to get his next one when he crosses the line, because we're 90 seconds away from the checkered flag falling. So Max Keeles, I would normally say 9th place, you are okay, but there's a big train of riders, and we just saw Rouchet Moodley move right up into the top 6, top 7, so keep an eye on that. Yamanaka's the one who moved up into P3 just then. Let's see what Keeles has got in his final sector, but it doesn't look like he's going to do anything at all, and he doesn't. Stays 9th, doesn't improve his time. Almanza's on a lap, Uriarte's on a lap, Morelli halfway round is under. Adrian Fernandez is 55.963. Almanza it is, who is punching a big hole in the air. Matteo Bertelli drafting him through as well. Almanza goes 2nd, Bertelli still 11th, doesn't improve. Munoz moves up into 8th place. That knocks Keeles back another place, so Keeles is now rounding out the top 10 with less than a minute to go. And we are now at the point now where those who need a lap can always just have a little chip to the gravel, could always take the flag. Yellow flags at this stage of the session are so vital.
Exactly, and now Keeles is 11th because Brian Uriarte, who's just in shot, has moved into the top 10. Marco Morelli goes P1, a Great lap from the young Argentine on that 9.7. That should be now Marco Morelli safely into Q2. But pensive faces, because they know in the Aspar box, Jorge Martinez Aspar and Nico Terol, that Quiles is not safe here.
Yeah, Esteban 14th, 13th for Danish, but he's lacking track time, really. So Danish, if he can put this together, he may well be able to knock Quiles back another spot. Quiles is up on his own time through the opening half of this lap, so it's not all done yet. Fernandez takes the flag, the checkered flag is out. Fernandez and Yamanaka take the flag. Danish takes the flag, he's down there in 13th, so he will be also likewise holding his breath to see if he does move straight through into Q2. We pick up Quiles. This is Biondetti 1. Flick it right. Biondetti 2. Look at Scott Ogden. Scott Ogden halfway round this lap, and David Munoz as well. So this is not all done yet, and Ogden needs this. He's down in 18th, so Bryn Scott Ogden a second and a half off the pace at the moment, but he's flying great guns here. Valentin Peroni, I was just about to say, Valentin Peroni, looking almost on the second page of the timing screen to find the number 73. He's down in 23rd. He needs this lap too. Quiles coming to the line. Half a second off 3 sectors in, moves up to 7th. Now that should secure his Q2 placing. We need to see Peroni, we need to see Ogden. They're in this big train. Let's see if there's a little bit of slipstream at play. There ain't going to be any for David Munoz. Munoz going for the line now. 10th looks like it will be enough anyway, but does he improve? Yes, moves up to the top 3. Ogden up into P1 to top practice. Brilliant stuff from him, and Peroni moves through as well. I'll tell you what, it's a great job that Max Quiles set that lap time, but I'm just wondering if he's had that chalked off. Maybe I'm wrong, but Quiles is in 14th place.
Yeah, it's still his last lap that's counting.
Yeah.
So
Quiles down in 14th place. Eddie O'Shea got ahead of him. Alvaro Carpe got ahead of him. And oh my dear me, 17th place. And it's Q1 again for Guido Pini. It just isn't happening on a Friday. But what a great job by this lot down here. The CIP Green Power team banishing their demons and woes from Barcelona. Scott Ogden, P1 on a Friday. Oh, well, that sounds great.
yeah, very good stuff from Ogden. Needed a lap time at the end there and delivered. Got a bit of slipstream to help as well. Ogden is on a run of 3 consecutive non-point scores. He's not done that since mid-2024, and that's a great way to start the weekend here in Mugello. He was on the front row here last year as well with the number 19, so top job from Ogden, and a few of the riders pounced in late stage as well. Valentin Peroni, you mentioned Kiko. Another one, Pratama, Rios, Eddie O'Shea on his last lap as well. So plenty of movement, and another big name, Brian Ariarte, hanging out there in P15. He lost out in the latter stages.
That is going to be a really tricky Q1. Look at who's in there tomorrow. Ariarte, who was on the front row last time out. Moodley, who set that great lap time just a few moments ago. Guido Pini, your home hero. At least he's got experience to fall back on in Q1. Down further we go. Rico Salmella can put a lap in. Bertelli, Danish, Queso Gorman down in 23rd. There's a lot of riders that are not going to fit into those 4 places. I've got to say, big problems down there though for Guido Pini on a Friday. That's something that the young Italian is going to have to work on. And when he gets back to the box here, this rider on your screen, Max Quiles, no, he's going to be breathing a massive sigh of relief, because that could have been a real headliner if he was not to make it through into Q2 directly. But he just scrapes in, and I'll tell you what, how much he scraped in by? 72,000. It was tight at the end.
Very tight, yeah. A few riders, including Ariarte, including Moodley, including Pini, missing out by around about a tenth of a second and even less. So, yeah, interesting Q1 coming up. It pretty much always is, but there's some big hitters, some fast riders who've been on the podium and been challenging for podium so far this year. Bertelli, a podium finisher, of course, as well. Pini, a race winner. Ariarte in that victory fight last weekend over in Barcelona. Quiles not looking too pleased, and that's understandable, but at the end of the day, you're inside that top 14, so it's pretty much job done on a Friday.
He looks very, very disgruntled, Max Quiles. Not looking happy down there at all in the CF Moto Aspar camp. Gotta say, Al, you mentioned him just then, and we missed it at the moment at that time because we were looking at Scott Ogden and Valentin Peroni. But brilliant job by Pratama, who had a very, very quiet Friday up until when he moved up into ninth just at the end there. And Hayes Reels, who was last this morning, completes that top 10. But it's Scoggers who is P1, a 1:55.812 sees him move through on his final flying lap ahead of Marco Morelli. Adrian Fernandez, who was fastest this morning, completes his top 3. Munoz and Peroni 4th and 5th. Almanza Esteban Van Yamanaka, Batama and Rios coming good right at the end. And then completing your 14 riders, you're already seeded through. Joel Kelso, Alvaro Carpe, Eddie O'Shea, Max Keeler's your championship leader, only just sneaking on through. Uriarte, Pini, they're massive headliners going into Q1 tomorrow, but be sure that they'll be fighting it out for Q2. Moto2 is up very soon in the company of Lewis Sotheby and Elliot York, so I'm going to get out of here. Enjoy the